But I also remember so many beautiful moments. Like for example, I remember the siren would during the day like go off so we can go out to the shelter. So there was no bombing in that moment. I remember I would just go out and play with my friends. It's like you're still playing. You're finding beauty in every moment you can, and you're still a kid. So I remember I was doing capoeira outside, playing, dancing a little bit, chilling, whatever. And then the siren goes off again. The planes are coming, bombs are falling, so we have to go down. So that was also part of my life. So I remember this.
Hey, all right. So I am now on the line with a Mr. Nemanja Sonero. So you are a dancer as well as an instructor. You are the creator of Eight Motion or Infinity Motion, perhaps, which is an online Kizomba Academy learning platform. You have a very popular instructional YouTube channel where you teach Kizomba.
Yeah.
You have 20 years of dance experience as well as 20 plus years of dance experience, as well as 20 plus years of capoeira experience. You were born in Belgrade, Serbia, but you currently live in Tallinn, Estonia. I think all that's right. Is that correct?
Yeah, man. All good. All correct.
Hey, how are you doing today, man?
Really good, actually. I had a really good sleep. Had some ideas downloading the whole night, so I woke up, wrote them down. So now I feel very inspired to move with
Hey,
that.
that's awesome, man. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Um, I think I wanna start this out, man. I'm very curious to hear about your childhood in Serbia, man. What was that like growing up in Serbia?
It was beautiful. I had, like most kids, a lot of playing outside back then, especially there were no phones, no internet. So yeah, a lot of outdoor games. Uh, yeah, I didn't have a lot of friends, I remember. I was very shy, very quiet as a kid. So yeah, that was the beginning of mostly spending outside outdoors. So a lot of creativity, imagination to create the games we had. That was in the 82, and then moving to the 90s. 90s were a little bit different in Serbia. So it was especially from 1990 until 2000 something. There was two wars, embargo, hyperinflation. There's a lot of happenings. So that part of the childhood was a bit different.
Yeah, I understand, man. Um, I guess I'm very curious to hear, man. What did your parents do? Can I ask that?
Yeah, of course. My mom was an accountant in a school where I was going, actually. My dad was a director of a shoe store. So most of these are their main jobs back then.
Okay, I understand, man. I definitely understand that, man. What I guess tell me, what were some of your childhood hobbies growing up in Serbia?
Childhood hobbies. Well, most I loved to play the piano when I was a kid. That was like a big thing back then. I did a lot of painting also, so I was always around arts, expressing myself in any way that I can through them. So yeah, I love the piano, I love to paint, I love to spend a lot of time outside. So there was a lot of movement since young age. I guess in the terms today they call it hyperactive kids or whatever terms they have, medical terms. I just feel there was like a children with a lot of energy. So I had to express it in movement, in any form, yeah. But I remember also I tried basketball. I didn't like it much. It was kind of boring for me. Anything connected to running from one side to the other was just not for me.
Was soccer pretty popular in Serbia or not really?
Yeah, really popular. Well, I did. Well, I played, of course, soccer like any other kids, but nothing serious. It was just fun games back then.
How 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 important was music in your household growing up?
A lot. Uh, I remember there was this record player in the middle of the living room, And there's a lot of photos of me just sitting by the record player, just like literally since I was a kid, right away. Besides my love to the piano, I always like played records, had my big headphones or without it. So listening to our music, then a lot of foreign music, then later rock with my brother because he introduced me to rock, then to hip hop. So for me, music was always very present. Also, big part of my family plays a lot of instruments, and from my father's side, also did a lot. And I also played with time more and more into percussion, into other areas I entered. So yeah, it was a huge part of my growing up.
I get you. Real quick, man. I guess can you name me? I guess maybe some popular genres or musicians. Like, who did you grow up listening to? Who did your family listen to?
Well, what my family listened to, what I was listening to, is two different things, and I. I learned English very young, so I think I was 6 already. I understood English through watching movies. So I started listening to a lot of foreign music right away, and I was also following a lot of what my older brother would do. So if he would listen to this, I would listen to that, and all the time. So I remember there was a lot of rock music in the beginning, from The Doors to other rock bands. Then later I moved more to hip hop, so I was listening to a lot of rap music back then. So it was like Tupac, Biggie, Onyx, and a lot of old school Public Enemy, and so I grew up a lot with that actually when I was younger. And then moving to reggae, and so etc. So it was a lot of experimentation.
Okay. I understand that, man. I definitely do, bro. So, so you're growing up in Estonia, or I'm sorry, you're growing up in Serbia.
Yeah.
Um, and I guess I guess what happens as you're growing up? Were you born and raised in Serbia, or did your family leave after the wars and everything?
No, I grew up in Serbia. No,
Okay.
back then, especially during the war and the embargo, basically embargo means like you're closed. You cannot go out.
Mm,
Nothing. No one can get in.
okay, yeah.
So those were the 90s in Serbia, and the first war. I also don't want to go too much into that. I'm fully open to share, but yeah, the first war, 1991, Yugoslavia split up, and then basically the 90s were like no one can leave. There's like maybe the surrounding countries a little bit in certain moments, but yeah, most of us were there. There was not a lot of traveling. I think my first trip out of the country was after 2000. I think
Wow. And how old
yeah,
were you at that time?
I was born 82, so I was like
18?
19, 20, I think my first
Wow.
time.
The first time you actually left the country. Wow, man.
Yeah, yeah, there's no, I mean, it was also financial part and also the country again in war and economical disturbance issues, war, and etc. So it was, I think, yeah, my first traveling, I think my first plane trip was 2004 or 5. I went to see my brothers. It was very exciting for me to enter a plane. But and since that moment, I think I had hundreds and hundreds of flights because of
Nice.
my career. So
I know you said you don't want to get too much into that, man, but I really want to just let me ask you this real quick.
yeah.
I guess how did things change from before and I guess after the embargo, man? Like, how did things change for your life?
Hmm. Hmm. Well, I'm not sure how to. I mean, let's say like this: since the 90s and now, things change a lot. I mean, the whole country, of course, it's a European city. It's open, modern, a lot of tourists. But back then, it was, in short, uh, when I remember 90s, I remember a lot of difficulties in like we had years of like periods of life when we had no food. For example, I always tell the story of my grandmother would send by post to my mom from the countryside like beans and different kind of like fruits, and then my mom would go to the market and sell that to get some money to buy food for me and my brother. So we lived a long time. There was no food, and there were these famous scenes of like the government would throw from trucks like bread, so people would fight for bread. So we had those moments. We had the Second War when NATO bombed us. So I was like living underground for 3 months in a bomb shelter and like up and down, leaving. So it was quite quite intense period in the 90s in Serbia. A lot
But
changed.
I want a toy truck. What? But Santa Claus. Oh, hold on one second, Santa Claus. Hold be right back. Hey, if you could leave a like and subscribe for the show, that would be amazing. Let's get back to the
In
episode.
Serbia. A lot changed, and also myself, and I remember when I speak about this, a lot of people, of course, I can understand. You feel empathic, you feel sad. It makes sense. Me also, but I also remember so many beautiful moments. Like for example, I remember the siren would during the day like go off so we can go out to the shelter. So there was no bombing in that moment. I remember I would just go out and play with my friends. It's like you're still playing. You're finding beauty in every moment you can, and you're still a kid. So I remember I was doing capoeira outside, playing, dancing a little bit, chilling, whatever. And then the siren goes off again. The planes are coming, bombs are falling, so we have to go down. So that was also part of my life. So I remember the good part, and I remember the other part. So I have them both in my memory.
I mean, that's crazy, man. See, growing up in a war zone, man, that's wild.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
seriously, man, that's crazy, man.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this, man. That's crazy, man. Looking back on your childhood, man,
Mm.
can you put into words how that affected your maturation into adulthood? How does your are you able to put in words how your childhood affected you, who you are today?
Uh, it affected me in different ways. I feel there's also many beautiful ways, many other traumatic ways. Like sometimes you're not aware fully what actually, how does it leave a mark on you. Maybe I meet it even nowadays. The last few years, as I'm doing a lot of self-development work, doing different psychological techniques, etc., etc. So I can sometimes access these kind of things very unexpectedly. Like suddenly, wow, there's a flashback to the moment, or so in that sense, it can affect me, and I feel it sometimes in my body. But at the same time, I feel like brought me a lot of maybe maturity in specific areas, also to be uh, someone who can manage situations in a different way than maybe someone who haven't been through those situations can go through. From handling stress to handling just to be very handy in the different moments without having maybe tools or this. You just know how to do shit without. Can I curse?
Oh yeah, yeah, bro. Of course, man. Of course.
Sorry. So yeah, just doing things in many ways that can be very handy and practical and just in the moment. So it brought a lot of beautiful things to me, and I learned also to appreciate life very very strongly. When you enter this other side of the life and you feel all this suffering and all this, like you really really learn to love life in many ways.
Yeah, man. Definitely, man.
Uh,
Tell me, this might be a silly question or obvious question, man, but I guess how important is your family to you, man?
it's very important. Uh, it's something that I have to be honest. I didn't grow up with a very connected family, so it was like from my dad, who was when he was younger was not very not the best dad in the world. So he left us with another family. So there was a lot of also a little bit of violence in the family, and also yeah, I have to admit I long to connect more with my family to have this relationship, but I know it was never really strongly there. I love my dad, I love my mom, my brother, but we just don't have strong family bonds. There's a lot of arguing, a lot of disconnection. So I grew up with a very dysfunctional family. So I feel now my uh, let's say also one of my purposes in life is to reprogram that lineage of not very healthy family that I had in my own line, and to create something beautiful in my own life at the moment and in my future, kids and everything. I feel I really want to bring more love, more connection, more community. So I feel I want to break that cycle of that I had in the past.
understand that. I definitely understand that. So yeah, so you're growing up in Serbia, and I believe. So you say you were born in '82.
Yeah.
I believe in is it '98 that you got introduced to capoeira? You already brought. You said your brother was doing it, right?
He only started, and there was this moment I always remember. I left school as I did many times. I would just like I had this moment. I go to school. I just turn to the right while all the kids get in. So I didn't spend a lot of time in school in high school, and it was the moment there was a separation in my family. So I didn't want to do anything basically. I was just very rebellious. Hanging out with the not so good kids, and so I was running away a lot from school. So I went to see my brother, and he just said, I remember, he's like, "Do you want to come with me to Capoeira?" I was like, what the hell is that?" I was like, "Okay." So I was very excited because it was, I think, one of the first times he actually invited me to do something together, because I was always chasing him, the big brother, but he never really liked that. So then he called me and said, "Yeah, let's go." So that was the beginning of like something more deep, because I always loved movement and dancing, but never like nothing serious, nothing professional. So this was the moment where I just entered the room. I started, and from that moment, just my whole life changed. Yeah.
Can you you say your whole life changed. Can you put into words, what drew you so much into capoeira? Why did you love it so much?
Mm, it was a blend of things I love. It was a blend of music. It's a blend of movement. It was a blend of things I cannot do, and I love a good challenge. It was something very deep, because capoeira, especially capoeira Angola, that I do, is like a very rooted uh, style of dance, style of martial arts. It's very connected to the earth, the nature, to the community, to Africa, to it's a very yeah, it's a very deep art form, and I felt it somehow in I just felt it in my heart that this is something that I really want to do, which since then I've been really following that gut feeling, the intuition to move to this direction. And it's something also I'm not fully always sure why. My whole life I've been always attracted to the African culture and the Latin culture, and it's something that I feel got very deep with capoeira. Uh,
Was there a big, I guess capoeira scene in Serbia at that time?
no, it was like five of us.
Oh, wow. Okay. Okay. Okay.
There was more. A few people. My teacher was from the UK. He worked with like children who don't have families in one building, and I joined. So it's a very small number of people, like maybe 5 6 people in the training, sometimes even two. So basically back then it was only that, but now in Serbia there's like dozens of schools, thousands of people doing it. So
That's
it's
awesome.
yeah, it really changed since then a lot. Yeah.
Tell me real quick, man. Tell me about your beginner stage learning capoeira. What was that like for you?
It was amazing. I remember even the first training, I just gave my all. I was completely not strong. I was very skinny, uh, weak physically. I remember I went home, I couldn't walk the next 10 days, basically. All my muscles in my body just activated, which I never used before. It was such a shock for my body. I just couldn't even, I think, walk for days. And I loved it because of that also. It just awoke some ancient fibers and muscles in my body which just demanded to be used more, and it was really amazing. Like, and I felt for the first time, I believe, a community. What does it mean to be in a community, and like build friendships in a community, doing something together? Because before that I didn't have that. Most of my friends were like stealing cars and dealing drugs, and I mean, I had, of course, beautiful friends who were very good, and I hanged out a lot with them. But the first time I really felt something beautiful together, doing something together, growing like community, basically. And that hooked me really, really, really strongly. And yeah, it changed my life, as you see. I'm now talking to you because of that, exactly.
I was going to ask you, man. Do you think capoeira might be the reason that you stopped hanging out with that bad crowd? You think your life could have went differently had you not got introduced to it?
Yeah, yeah, very much so. I feel it grounded me, it disciplined me, it showed me what is really important in my life, what I want to do, and it took me off the street, man. It's like
Hey,
that's basically it.
I understand, man. So yeah, so you're growing up and everything. And then you said, like you took your first plane ride in the 2000s and everything. I guess well, let me ask you this then. So you're doing Capoeira and everything. At what point did you realize that you wanted, movement, dance to be your life's journey, or did you have, other plans in mind?
Mm, I didn't fully maybe know in that moment that I really want to do that, because to think from that moment and that perspective and the environment and the country and the situation, to think like, hey, I can live from this, that was at that moment not really there for me. It's like there's no, if I remember, if I in one moment I did say to my family or to my friends, hey, I think maybe I can try to actually do this for like a, like a career. I know no one believed me. Like there was like not even a option. So uh, it was not fully in my field, of understanding back then. But I do feel, because I was following my intuition, what really resonates with me. I feel because of that. I feel and sometimes I say I really felt I was guided. I don't know how to explain it differently. I felt, uh, some people call them spirit guides, or sometimes I think maybe it's my grandma. I really don't know. It's like I feel I was, through my intuition and through my passions, I was guided to that road and everything. I remember so many interesting things happened that exactly put me in the right place to kickstart this journey of like movement and actually living from this. So that's how I can explain it. Yeah.
Yeah, I understand. So you said you felt you were guided, man. So was it just you listening to yourself, going with your own intuition? Is that what that was?
I believe so, and basically I just did what I want to do. It's like so many kids get like, oh, don't do this, don't do that. This is not good for you. Parents decide a lot, but I feel even one day when I have kids, I really want to tune in and ask them, like, and help them understand what do they want. I had to fight for what I want, even though everyone is saying no. I always felt this yes. Where is my yes? And following that yes always. And so whatever we want to call it and name it, intuition or this or that, I feel grateful that I followed that yes.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome that you were able to stick with your yes and follow it, man. That's
Yeah.
Let me ask you this then, man. Um, for myself or maybe others who unfortunately went with what someone else thought, was best for them.
Hmm.
They weren't always listening to their own yes. Um, is it ever too late to, get back on that correct path?
Never, man. And a yes is not only dance. A yes is to anything in your life, and this is something very very present in my life for a long time. But now, especially, like I feel I really want to follow where is my yes, and it's connection also to my work, to with whom do I want to work with and create something. Is my yes coming from a place of wanting to make only money, or is it coming from a yes like of excitement? Hey, I want to do this. I really want to do this, and then the rest would come. So I think this yes is such an important thing in everything that I do, at least in my life, and making decisions about anything, love, work, when do I get up, how do I get up. So it's a life, it's a life. Yes.
And so let me ask you this: is that a skill? Like, how does one how do you get better at listening to that yes or finding that yes? If you understand me, if I'm even
Mm.
asking the right question.
Mm. Well, I feel I can go to that in from a few. different directions. Maybe in the simplest way to what I do, I ask myself, like, what do I want to do? Like, what excites me? You know, maybe even better, like, what excites me? Like, okay, today I can eat the potatoes or I can eat the pasta, you know. So I'm asking myself, what excites me more than the other one, you know? And I start with that. And then the same now in my work, like I'm deciding what I want to travel with next year. Bless you. And so it's like, I think this is the basic thing. Like, what do you want to do? And to ask yourself, what I'll start from me, not saying you, but I'll go for myself. Like, what do I want to do that I want to do, not for you, not for anyone else? Like, what really, really comes, like, what excites me? And I just move from that place. That's it. Like, I don't think what anyone else thinks. I just really start from me.
I understand that, man. I definitely do. So you're growing up, um, and you said you went to go visit your brother.
Mm.
So I guess at one point he moves away, correct?
Yeah, 2000 or 2001, he left the country after the war we had. So 1, 2 years after the war, he met his current partner back then, and they fell in love. She was already living in Finland. It's also a very beautiful love story because it's like such a fascinating thing. Like, he's from Serbia, she's from Bosnia, and and Serbia has a history with war. He is like Christian, she was Muslim. It's like that was also a fascinating story, and a really love story, real one. And he moved away to Finland to live with her, and then I couldn't see him for many years. I think 5, 6, I forgot how many years, because he didn't serve the army. He couldn't come back to the country. If he would, they would arrest him. So it was like a huge, huge
He's like a
story about.
deserter. Yeah.
Well, not a deserter. Like, it's like we had in our country we had army, not anymore. That you have to serve. If you don't go, you go to jail theoretically.
Right. I understand.
And for example, he didn't serve the army, but he left the country and he never came. You know, he didn't come back. So because he was already a specific age, so he didn't want to come back. Also because of that, but also because of his partner. So I didn't see him for years, and then years after I got my passport, and we managed to do the visa for me, because we need a visa for back then, especially for every single country. And I managed to get the visa. He invited me, and I saw him. I remember after many years, I got out of the bus. I really hugged him, and it was such a beautiful moment.
Right.
And it was his journey to find something better, also to leave the country, because with all due respect, Serbia is, for me, especially when you grow up the way I grew up, it's not a place to start to be an artist for me. To achieve something that I wanted to achieve, it was just not the place for me. So I went to find it in another one. Yeah. I don't hear. Okay, good.
Oh,
Yeah.
my fault. So you were, I guess you were first forced to serve in the military or the army yourself then?
I didn't go. And I, I was a very rebellious kid, like a lot, which means I remember in high school, like my whole class. So we have a day off in school, and you have to go to the military. So they decide first, they do a test, whatever. They decide what kind of unit you're gonna be one day when you go to the army. And I went there. I was the only one in the class. I was like, "Fuck that! I'm not going." Oh, sorry, again a curse. Sorry,
Yeah,
my bad.
you can curse, man. You can curse, bro. That's not a
Yeah,
problem.
but I want to speak. I don't need to curse. I want to get it out of my life. So, so I said, yeah, I'm not going. I said that doesn't make sense. Why would I serve to this country which is already a mess? And just in my head, in my heart, is that just didn't make sense. Like, why would I serve anyone? And just the word serve. Okay, it can be a beautiful thing to serve someone from love, from heart, but to serve in this way, to be trained to be a killer, I'm not going to do that. And I remember in high school, once or twice a year, my whole class would go to do some checkups, medical tests. I never went there. And I remember the militaries keep on sending these blue envelopes to my home, like, you have to come. If you don't come, we'll arrest you, blah, blah, blah. I just said, I'm not coming. I was just saying, that was we spoke about the yes. this was a no, a very clear no. And because I was like, no, I'm not going. You can come. And the best part, they never came. I never went to the army. And one day they just canceled the whole army. So I was one of the rare in my generation, I believe, ever that actually didn't go to the military because,
Wow.
uh,
Okay,
yeah,
man. Yeah, how things work out, man. That's crazy.
yeah, yeah.
So you said no to that, man. And so I guess tell me, so how old were you? And when you left to Finland, right?
Yeah, I went to visit my brother, not to.
Okay. Okay, so you just went to visit. Okay, okay.
I think
So
it was 2004, I think,
that's
or
what you
three or
said. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I guess at what point you said Serbia was not a good place for artists. I guess at what point did you decide to leave Serbia? When did that come about? How did that come about?
I thought about it many times, and I think the first time I left my country. Well, I think it was 2001 or three. I went to, I think, Croatia for a capoeira event. But like to leave, like really that whole region, ex-Yugoslavia, I went to Finland, saw my brother, and I saw how different it is. I saw to start with, hey, like people here actually make good enough money and they don't need to think will they eat tomorrow. That was also good, good reference. And also I just saw the opportunities. Like, hey, you can move, you can travel, you can actually get some money to buy a ticket. I couldn't afford a ticket, so my brother bought me a ticket to come to visit him. And it was just, I just felt what I want to do in my life. This is not the place to be anymore. So I tried different ways. I got a few offers from across the world, like doing this, doing that, and I feel. Uh, Again, I felt this guidance of just moving in a specific direction, and it brought me in the end to Estonia, to a festival, and then I was coming here for a few years, and then they offered me to stay here to do some more work, and I was like, okay, let me try to stay a few months, and it's been 8 years.
So the first place you moved after Serbia to actually live was Estonia?
Yeah, I lived in a few places.
Ah,
Like I had periods, for example, I lived like a month or two, like in different areas. Sometimes I would travel for longer, but like really like move to stay for a longer period, like over a year or a few months. Yeah, it was Estonia.
okay. And you said you were off of work. Were you dancing at that point or?
Yeah, I mean, I, I I actually started to teach very early, unintentionally, because after the 98, 99, this period of the war, my teacher had to, well, he left the country, he's from UK, and then he couldn't come back, and he stayed in his country, and the story was that there was no one to teach us capoeira, and I loved it so much that I agreed with my friends, okay, let's start training together. Then people just started one by one coming, like, and we were like, okay, so there is a tactic we can do. We can start teaching or sharing what we know because we didn't know shit, but still we knew something. Let's share what we know, build a community and students, and collect the money with that to invite a teacher so we can grow. So I started teaching. Wow, it's been I think 2000. So since then until now, so yeah, 20 years, almost 20 years. I've been teaching nonstop movement and dance and music and yeah, that was the story.
Hey, nah, I understand, man. So were you making your money teaching capoeira? Is that how you did it for a long time?
No, I did different jobs. So I had like I worked in an office. I worked in high school already. I didn't go regular to classes, so I did like exams only, and at the same time I had jobs. So I was working in a like back then like gaming computer whatever facility, and then I worked in an internet provider company, some IT work, and then I washed. I don't know if you know those guys that hang on buildings and wash windows on
Oh,
ropes.
oh wow. Okay.
Because I did a lot of extreme sports at the same time, so I did like a lot of rock climbing, inline skating, skateboarding. So with rock climbing, I learned how to use all this equipment. So I started working on washing windows on buildings. So that gave me it's paid really well because it's a dangerous job. So even for Serbia, it was good money to, I can work for like 2 weeks, and then I don't need to work for like 2 months or something. So with that money, I can actually train. That was the goal. So, okay, I need more time to train. Let's make money, invest it in that. So I invest in teachers, in classes, in this and that. So that was my process.
Okay, okay. So we've been talking for half an hour. We haven't even brought up Kizomba, man. So tell me, I guess, how did you get introduced to Kizomba, and really, how did you get introduced to, the Latin culture, to
Mm.
Kizomba? How did all that come about?
It started first with salsa. And I remember one of my students took me, she's like, hey, there's this Cuban guy teaching in this club, like salsa. I was like, okay, let's go try.
And real quick, was that in Serbia or Estonia?
Serbia.
Okay, okay.
This was 2000, I think, 3 or something. I forgot. I think 2003 or 2. And yeah, she invited me to, let's go to the club. I saw salsa, and I saw people, doing all these interesting things. And I like the music. I already knew the music because I also worked at the same time. I worked on radio. I had a reggae show. So I played reggae and also world music. So I was very acquainted with African music, Latin music. I already listened to a lot of Brazilian music. So I already knew about salsa, but not very deep. So I went to the club and I saw the dancing. I was like, okay, let me give it a try. And I felt already in that moment I was doing capoeira, I was doing other martial arts because I had a huge curiosity for movement. This is my biggest passion in general. So I just saw another opportunity. Hey, I can learn this. Let's see how that affects my body, my other dances, blah blah blah. So I started with salsa, bachata, reggaeton. Yeah, similar dance hall. I did a lot of dance hall back then. It was funny. Uh, and then I remember I met a friend from the Angolan embassy. His name was Fula. And we just started hanging out. He was coming to my parties. I was DJing already, and I remember he was like, "Hey, I would like to show you some music that I like." So he was showing me different Angolan music, and he was showing me samba. I remember he made like a CD, like he burned a CD for me, and he wrote samba. And I remember I know samba from Brazil. I was
That's
like,
just
samba.
Brazil, though.
Yeah, and then I didn't know like is it the same? And then I saw the videos and the music. I was like, wow, this is beautiful. And I remember I saw the videos of samba artists. I don't know which ones, but they were just dancing, moving. It was beautiful, and it was something that again woke up again new curiosity. Okay, how can I learn this? What is this? And then one of my dance partners, 2006, I think, or five, I already forgot. I'm bad with dates and years. I was dancing with her teaching, and she said, "Hey, I learned this dance Kizomba because she'd been to Portugal." And she's like, "You want to try it?" I was like, "Nah, I really like it. It looked very simple and very like because back then there was not really what we have now, and back then it's completely different. It was very basic. I was like, well, this looks boring. I'm not sure I like this, uh, but still, it left a spark. It left a seed, which slowly, with time, again, saying yes to where I want to be, what I want to do, it brought me to a teacher, a second teacher, third teacher, and then I started learning. And yeah,
Yeah. Going back to I don't know if it's like '04 or whenever. Tell me first about your beginner stage in salsa and bachata. What was that like learning those dances?
it was fun, a lot of fun. Uh, I have to say, I'm a very slow learner. So the only way for me to catch up with the others is if you for example train 1 hour, I need to train 5 hours. So so but that also brought I feel when I do that I go deep, and then I go deeper, and then I go deeper, then I do 10 hours because I like it, then I do 15 hours because I like it even more, and then that curiosity was always taking me. I don't learn fast as others, but I learn in my own way that works. So salsa was like I was obsessed. I was training a lot with my friends, rueda, then learning rumba, Afro-Cuban, Orisha, Palamonte, etc. So it was a lot of practicing, a lot of devotion. I still love it. I still love to dance salsa and bachata. And,
Is there a big Latin community in Serbia at that time, or is there now?
even then, but especially now, it's huge. It's like, and not as in Latin, not a lot of Latin people living there, but like I don't know if you know, but Serbia won many world championships in Rueda and Cuban salsa.
Wow.
Yeah, we won a lot of times, and we have a lot of Rueda's amazing dancers there.
That's
Like,
a Cuban salsa.
yeah, Cuban salsa. This is very interesting because I tried also, and many other people tried to bring more crossbody style, LA, New York, but people just don't connect it so much. There is something about my country which I still fully cannot explain, but again, it's not only me that I'm in this so deep. Like there are many people who love yeah, love just this Afro Latin feeling, and it suits us, suits our nature and the mentality we have. Sometimes I feel like Serbia is like Cuba in Europe,
Okay.
and it fits our movement, it fits our energy, our vibe, and that's why there's amazing dancers there, really amazing
Awesome.
dancers.
I would never have known that, man. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, many people don't know that.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
So you were telling me though, you had this friend from Angola, man. He kind of introduced you to it. Um, and then you say you had a dance partner, and she kind of introduced you to it, but you weren't really much of a fan of it.
Mhm.
Tell me as well, man. Tell me about your beginner stage in Kizomba. What was that like?
Uh, I strongly believe back then I danced Kizomba. I danced tango to Kizomba music. That was my Kizomba back then because I already danced tango for a while and already I was into it very deep. And when I started Kizomba, I honestly I felt it was a very lame, boring, easy dance. Uh, Only because I didn't understand it. I feel I didn't have a proper maybe introduction to it. So my kizomba was tango basically, and I understood the structure because I break it down. I see the structure. I see, okay, you walk in front, you can walk on the sides, you can walk this direction, blah blah blah. We have the same in tango. So for me, it's like, okay, why is like I can just walk, but it's a completely different music, completely groove. The body is different, the way you step is different, and so I underestimated kizomba a lot.
Okay.
And but I felt still there was something about it, so I slowly again started learning and understood what it actually is. So the beginnings were very simple, and again, back then there was no structure. Back then there was only a few teachers traveling outside of Portugal to teach. It was Benjamin Ande, it was Joao, it was Afro Latin Connection, Lima. Yeah, almost no one. Like
Hey.
it was the beginning of the whole scene. 2006, I think they started traveling or five first time to Poland and to Serbia. So Poland and Serbia, I think were the first countries outside of Portugal that Kizomba actually started growing slowly.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay, man. And so at that time you got introduced to both Simba and Kizumba, or
yeah, yeah. Kizomba, Semba, Tarashinha. Back then, Afro House not yet. It came later. It was still not known actually at all. But yeah, those were the three dances that I started to study more.
and it's probably very obvious, man. But tell me, man, can you put into words, how tango and kizomba are different, and maybe as well, how are they similar? Because I don't dance any tango, so I don't know anything about
Yeah.
that.
So, mm, historically, tango is from Africa.
Okay, I didn't
Uh,
know that.
yeah, there is this beautiful documentary about tango, which is called Tango Negro, Black Tango. And it shows the history of the tango in Argentina also because, now when you look at Argentina, it's like, or you look at the tango dancers, they're all white, and no one really speaks about there's a history of black African rooted people living in Argentina which dance tango, and it's a beautiful documentary from one actually Angolan director. I recommend it highly to everyone, and they really speak about how tango came from Africa, from these couple dances that already existed back then, and then of course it blended with European culture. So also tango, and tango is also, from what I know at least, it's a Bantu word that in Kimbundu word, because in Angola they have a few Bantu dialects. Main one in Angola, for example in Luanda, it's Kimbundu, and it's the most common one you hear maybe in songs from Bonga and other artists. So they sing in Kimbundu. And from one of my teachers, they say tango is a Kimbundu word. So they say the roots are coming from Angola also as a word. Samba the same. So samba, it's the same almost. I mean, it sounds the same, yeah. So there is a lot of similarity, which is, I call them the walking dances. Basically, you're walking. There is no basic step like 1, 2, 3, salsa or anything else.
That's that a pasada, right?
Yeah, pasada. You're walking with your partner. So in that sense, this is the basic structure. And there's a lot of similarities. If you look technically, you're walking in front of your partner or beside your partner. And from that structure, of course, you can transfer the partner from one side to the other. So there's huge similarities in that sense, because, I mean, we have two feet. So there's not like millions of options. You can create something so different. I mean, it's just logic. So in that sense, I feel there's a lot of connection, and also there's a lot of historical connection. There's a lot of influence we don't speak about. Even in Angola, there's a lot of Cuban influence in Angola. There's a lot of Cubans there during the Civil War in the 70s. Yeah,
I've
so
heard that. I've heard that.
yeah, tens of thousands of Cubans were there. And of course they're going to bring their own culture, and then
Exactly.
Angolas were going to Angola to study, musicians also, and back. So I feel there is a connection. And I see it because I dance both dances, tango and kizomba. So I feel very strongly there is a bond historically. But as we see it now, musically, completely different. How we walk, completely different. How we're grounding ourselves, like there is a difference, a big one. It's a cultural one, and that was developed with time.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's Well, let me ask you this then, man, because you're very knowledgeable. Man. I very appreciate that. I very much appreciate that, man. Can you put into words the difference between maybe Urban Kiz and Kizomba?
I had a feeling you're gonna go there.
And maybe as well, how are they similar, man?
um, hmm. I will start with this. There is more similarity in Urban Kiz and Kizomba, so there are more things that connect us than separate us.
Okay. And I agree with that. I understand that.
Uh, and I do say this because in the past I was not fully thinking like that. My mind was a little bit different, and I feel now, because I am a student of movement, and I perceive now when I see someone dancing. Yes, I understand there's a culture behind, there's music, but I do see a movement. I see a body and I see a movement, and I see a question and an answer. I see an energy moving to this way and response, to that. So I see it in a different way. And because of that, I see more similarities in Kizomba and Urban Kiz than before. When I look at Urban Kiz, and I know the creator, with Curtis, I mean, he's very knowledgeable in Kizomba and Semba. So his base comes from that. And or when he started Urban Kiz, I have to say what was then and now is very different also. Yeah, it's like with all due respect to the creators and everyone who dance Urban Kiz is still a baby in its form. It's still a baby which is learning how to walk, to define what is the name, define the what is this character of this baby. It's going to need more time and more clarification, structure to understand what exactly is Urban Kiz, because today you can see many people dancing I'll not say whatever, but it's like it feels like you can be creative in any way, and you can call it Urban Kiz, which I don't agree fully. You know, I have my knowledge of this style and the scene because I'm in the scene all the time since the beginning of all this, and the structure and the base of Urban Kiz is still Kizomba, even though people don't want to admit it. You know, because when I look at Urban Kiz dancers, with my knowledge, I can dance with any of them. Now, how will they follow me? How will they understand me? That also depends on me, but depends a lot on them. I feel there is a common language that we can have if we both uh, allow ourselves to go to that place. So in that sense, I feel there's a lot of similarities, but still, Urban Kiz started with ghetto zouk music, and then that switched to more to Tarashinha, to zouk bass, to pop remixes, and now all these remixes that they have. So there is still no defined sound.
Right.
I feel that it's changing a lot. And again, the Kizomba umbrella, it's everything. Kizomba umbrella, just you can dance to any kind of music you want.
Right. I understand that. I've heard people say that Kizomba and Urban Kids are two separate, completely different dance styles. I've heard people say that, but I think they do share a lot in common though as well, man. So I understand that.
They do. I mean, I understand also why they say this, and I had the same opinion for a long time. And the way I was speaking about it. Yeah, I was saying like it's too different. But I think it was also because we needed to. There was in one moment everything was called Kizomba, and people were doing, different things which were not very aligned with what the structure of Kizomba is. So in that sense, people were trying to separate them fully, so we have more clarity in what is what. And it's very important for me as a teacher to have clarity. What do I share with my students? And for me, students come first. So if I cannot explain to them what is what, it's hard for them to understand, and hard for them to grow. It just creates a lot of confusion. So in that sense, I understand they want to separate. Okay, this Kizomba, this Urban Kiz. Now we know what it is, more or less. And so many people will say it's completely different dances. I don't fully agree with that, simply because I know I can dance with an Urban Kiz dancer, and I do very often.
Okay. That's what I heard. Some people say, it's hard for a urban kids and a Kizumba dancer to dance with each other, but it is possible.
Mm. Okay, let's say like this. Recently, I danced with one girl in the summer in Holland, and I feel she's one of the first generations of Urban Kiz dances without the Kizomba experience. So
Okay. So her first class was urban kids.
I have a feeling now people who come with that from that place, like they never had Kizomba class, they have only from the beginning. This is the first time we have this, like it's such a global thing, everyone started, you have Urban Kiz classes. Before it was
Right.
Kizomba,
Uh-huh.
and then people mix, and then you like, or whatever. But now it's like, okay, this is Urban Kiz class, welcome. And then they move from that place. I danced with her. It was very difficult to dance with her.
Okay. It was difficult.
Yeah, it was very difficult. Different reasons. It doesn't need to be because of the Urban Kiz, but it's because also maybe the teacher she had or how she learns and studies. So I noticed there was a difficulty to dance with her. Um, so I feel in that sense, yeah, it can be challenging. Again, it's a bit subjective. It's not
Right.
generalizing it.
Exactly. We're not speaking absolutes.
Yeah, yeah.
I understand that. I definitely understand that, man. Um, I want to give value to to the listeners, anyone who may be listening right now, man. So let me ask you this real quick, man. You've been teaching for quite a while now. What are some common mistakes that you might see in your class that you wish you could rectify?
In my class,
Or I mean, when you are teaching, what are some common mistakes you see when you're teaching? That's some things you wish you could rectify, some things you wish you could fix.
mm, Okay, if it's okay, I will share from this place. When I travel to festivals, I do notice in the workshops specific topics which repeat everywhere. Maybe if that's okay to share, maybe from that.
That's perfect, man. That's perfect. Yeah.
Number one for me is the frame. I feel the frame needs more attention into understanding the frame and how, because frame is basically our means of communication, yeah, physical. And this is the first thing, when you start couple dances, or even now when you invite a partner, it's like how we enter the frame. It's for me, it's very important. This is something I learned in tango. They really approach the frame in a very almost a sacred way. You're approaching a person, you're approaching a completely, different energy, and it's like it's not just grabbing someone and just. Brrr, it's like really approaching that, and especially when having the time to feel each other, to connect properly, and then moving from that into the technicality of it, like where are we connected, and how much energy or some people call it tension energy, how much we put into it, and this is how we communicate with the partner. And I feel who has a good frame. If a lady has a good frame, I can lead her into anything.
Of course, of course.
And I feel in Kizomba, it's still not put enough attention to that. And this is something I correct a lot. So I feel people just, I would quite often fix the frame, put a lot of again through that, because if the frame is not good, no matter what level you are, like advanced, like it just everything else becomes a bit messy.
Yeah. And in my opinion, that's with any dance, especially partner dance. So I do salsa, bachata, kizomba, and a little bit of Brazilian zouk, and you need frame in all those dances to be a good lead, to be an effective lead or an effective follow. You need proper frame.
Yeah.
I said, is there anything else you see, or is that the biggest one?
Frame. Also, I put a lot of attention into how we step, so into the basic step. Maybe I'm not going to even call it the basic step. I'm just going to say how we step, because I see that in beginners, but I see that also in advanced dancers and teachers sometimes. It's like for me, if I want to see how good someone is, I just look at how they step.
Yeah.
I don't need anything else. Like I don't need to look at how tricks you do. I don't care. I just look how you step, and I know right away. I need 3 seconds for that. So I feel very often I would focus on the basic steps. I work with people, okay, because you know how grounded you are. Where do you step from? Where does it move? Where does it move then through your body? Is it in connection to the rest of your body? How you breathe through those steps. I love this quote, and I will always say it and repeat it until I'm gone. Basic is the first thing you learn and the last thing you master.
Hey, speak on it, man. That's awesome.
And this is such an important part of my life, because no matter what level I feel I'm reaching or wherever I am, I always go back to my basics. It has to. There's this circle, a small circle, and then this bigger circle. Maybe you learn more, you need more time, but again, you have to go back to your basics. Like there is no other way. And I remember in contemporary, when I used to dance in theater also, we had this thing, like I remember there was this dancer, she would just stand on stage, she would just move her, maybe it's an example for that, she would just lift her hand. She didn't do any fancy jumps, trips, contemporary, anything. She just lifted her hand, but her presence was so powerful in the way she moved. I feel she has full understanding of her body and where she is, and it's such a powerful moment, to see that. And those are, like, let's use it as a basic, to understand yourself and your body at the floor, at the ground. So basic is something I keep on coming back very often in my workshops.
I definitely understand that, man. I definitely do. So I want to ask you then these two questions, man. And so the first question being, how does a lead or a follow, how do they improve their frame? What are some practical exercises they can do, or what do they need to think about? What do they need to keep in mind to improve their frame?
Well, Well, to start with our own structure, so to even without a partner, just to understand, okay, where is my body? Just to there's these stages that I take my students through of like, okay, feeling the floor with your feet, almost like it's your hands, to imagine your feet are your hands, just to touch, okay, how do you connect with your floor? And then move that throughout your body, to your legs, to your hips, to your core, and into the hands, because all this, in terms of energy, it moves through the floor into your body, and it transmits to your hands or wherever you want it to be transmitted, and it goes to your partner later. Yeah, so it's a beautiful dynamic and flow. So I usually start with my own frame, depending on the dance, but the structure is the same. So my own frame, my own holding, am I light, am I heavy? Also, then when I connect to my partner, there's a lot of practices for that, like how much tension we use. Is it coming from the hand, from the back, or is it coming from the body weight? Where does this come from, and how much do we actually need to understand each other? And this is a big one. Like, some people use a lot of strength. I know men, this is a very common thing with men. Men use a lot of strength to turn the partner. They think to move the partner, you have to move your hands. But no, to move your partner, you have to move yourself. So there's a lot of these themes and practices that, at least what I do in my workshops, like to take stage by stage to bring them to an understanding how much energy they need to communicate, and to bring more clarity, to bring more men into, okay, bring more clarity into your movement, even if it's a light one, and to help the followers to be more open for that and more receptive, and to respond not from strength, but to respond from feeling that.
Okay, I think I understand you. I think I understand, man. Um, and the follow up question being, how can anyone from beginner to advanced, or maybe this retain, well, yeah, anyone.
Mhm.
How do we, as dancers, improve our stepping? How do we go about that? Is that something you could put into words?
Hmm. In simple way.
And so, I mean,
Uh,
not simple, but
yeah,
how do we improve our stepping though?
yeah. I'll try to. I'm trying to always speak about this in a simple way so everyone can understand. Um, Well, it's actually connected to the topic of what I just shared about the frame. It starts by feeling yourself in connection to the floor. One of the references I use is like, okay, imagine your feet are your hands. How do you touch the floor? How are you in touch in connected to the surface of the ground, and in connection to your knees, because it's far more than just touching the ground. It's such a deep way to, we can practice it by, for example, just my own exploration. I put music and I just walk around the house. This I do all the time. After 20 years, I still do the same stuff. I just walk around the house. Okay, what if I start heel toe? Okay, and trying to really become aware of even the slightest parts of my foot. This is what I do, at least. Okay, if I transit here, where is my weight? How much am I forward? How much am I back? Can I step in a more beautiful way? It's. I feel that space is like infinite grow, because we can learn combinations in salsa, bachata. Like, there's a technique for this, but I feel this is, in comparison to the basic step, it's super easy, and that's why we just do this kind of repetitions and explorations, like a laboratory. You create this space, and you step in different ways. You move like this, and then you do that with a partner.
So it's just practicing. That's what you're saying.
Well, it's practice anyways, but again, become more aware of our own bodies and how we are connected to the floor. Is it just flapping like ducks around the water, or is it like really connecting to the earth? That's my perception of it. Like, I'm literally standing on planet Earth. It's like, if I think about it, I'm not standing on the floor, I'm standing on a huge ball in space. And that relationship is already a huge one, even before I touch my partner. So I'm trying to already build a relationship with my own self, and then from that space, of course, I mean, I cannot explain everything. Come to my class, but uh, uh,
I get you. I understand, man. All right, man. I got a couple more questions for you, man, if you don't mind.
Yeah, man, go.
Hey, vet. So, for an individual who is a beginner to a certain thing, really, any it could apply to anything. They're in that beginner stage,
Hmm.
but they feel like they're not getting better. They're kind of stuck in that beginner's rut. What advice could you give them?
Can you repeat the question in a maybe different way?
All right, yeah. So just someone who's a beginner in Kizomba,
Yeah.
and they feel like they're not getting better. They're stuck in the same place. What advice could you give them?
Well, mm, enjoy. Enjoy wherever you are, even when you're stuck. Enjoy in it. I experienced many times in my life I would feel stuck. I'm not sure. Okay, am I growing? Am I not growing? Am I going backwards? Even I feel just enjoy the process. It's like I feel everything will come. Like practice and always coming. This is a famous quote from Shri Patabi Joyce, one of the yogi masters of Ashtanga yoga. He just said a simple sentence: practice and always coming. And I had this quote in my head for a long time, just to continue no matter where I am and really enjoy in the present moment where I am with what I know. What I know in this moment now is enough, and just practice and find new teachers, explore, trying different workshops. Uh, I also would advise maybe not to get stuck with the same teacher for a long. For beginners, it's really good to stick with one and to a good one and to move with that, to be guided. But later, I suggest exploration. Find another teacher, take another workshop, practice. I mean, nothing really, nothing really revolutionary. Just yeah.
I understand. I definitely understand.
Uh,
Let me ask you the continuation then for someone who is an intermediate and they want to get to that advanced level. What does it take for them?
uh, Same what I just shared, and also to be curious more, as in what I shared before about the basics, for example, to really go deeper into the knowledge that you already have. So, for example, if you're intermediate, not to chase what is the next thing, what is the next move, but to maybe focus more on what you have, but deeper. I feel that's an easier step to reach whatever next level you want to reach than chasing the next better thing, the next thing, the next thing. Just okay, this is what I have. Okay, how can I deepen this? How can I get in better in this? In whatever, doesn't matter what it is, but yeah, this is one way for me.
Okay, no, I definitely understand that, man. Um, when I say the word musicality, what does that mean to you?
Mm, it means really, really, really be with the music, like listen to the music. And I don't mean just entering here, exiting here, but I really mean embodying that more. And uh, I will share this in the past. I would teach musicality workshops in different ways. I was exploring, and sometimes I would teach instruments playing, sometimes I would teach choreographies, and then I stepped out a little bit out of that. And now, one of the advice that I really give to people: listen to more music at home. Uh, because, like, okay, listening to in the class, in the class I play maybe 4 songs in the whole 1 hour. And the part is, yeah, you listen to the music, but you're so focused on the practice, especially if you're a beginner, intermediate. So, like, I want to do this, I want to do that. So often people don't really listen to the music. So sometimes for me, what works even better, I just sit on the couch like this and I just put some music, and I start listening. And there are, of course, many practices. Okay, let's find this instrument, let's find this instrument, then learning the language and doing this or that, feeling the music. Many improvisation practices, but still, it's such a simple thing. Just listen to more music. Just play it at home, man, and just listen to until it's in your system.
Yeah, simple as that, man. And the last one, man. give me one tip that can make anyone a better dancer immediately.
Immediately,
Immediately.
have fun. Yeah, have fun.
Simple as that.
Yeah.
All right, for sure. um, yeah, I guess at this point, man, I really wanna thank you. I want to make sure I say it right, Nemanja, right? Is that
Yeah.
how yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, I really appreciate you taking time out your day to talk to me. I really, really appreciate that.
Yeah. Thank you for inviting, man.
Of course,
Pleasure.
man. I can really tell how you're very knowledgeable about all this, man. So it was a pleasure talking with you.
Thank you.
Of
Thank you.
course, man. So tell me this real quick, man. What are some of your upcoming events? What do you have going on in your life?
Mm, so at the moment, my big focus goes on my online work, my website, which is www.8motion.ee. So it's the online academy that I'm doing, and it's at the moment focused on Kizomba, but soon we have new courses with Tarashinya, with Afro House, with many other practices. That we also have a leading and following practice. Some of the practices I try to explain now were actually in the course on the website. So my big focus now goes to this because I want to share more with not just with the workshops where I meet people, but also around the world with people I never met. And so this is my focus at the moment. Also, I used to organize a festival here in Estonia, a Kizomba festival, but this year I'm not doing it. I decided to skip this year, and I have something else in mind for the next year. Uh, because the scene is changing very rapidly, I also want to honor everyone that is in this now time and space of all these changes and styles. So a very beautiful project that is coming up next year. Also on my website, I'm starting soon a podcast. Yeah, because I've been doing podcasts for a few years. I've been doing different interviews, but I feel now I want to, because it's such a beautiful thing. Even now, when I communicate with you, I love talking to people in this way.
Yeah.
It's such a gift, to meet different people in this space. So we're starting doing that. So many new things will be on the website soon. Also in my own life, besides dancing, I'm now focusing more and more on. I don't know how much you know about it. It's men's work.
No, I don't. Speak on it, please.
Uh, well, it's something that I really love to do, but it's now being more. It's now being stepping. We're stepping up more into this space of myself, of men's work. Just creating more brotherhood and men who can have contain a beautiful space where they can open up, express themselves. Men with men. So in this, to bring many ancient traditions of being in front of the fire, of the warrior dances, even the haka from by Maori. So there's a lot of beautiful, different kind of approaches to this kind of work. So this is also happening. Also, before I forget, I didn't share much about it. I work as the founder, and a few of us, founder of the World Kizomba project. So we have this beautiful project we started last year of connecting many teachers, which really love Kizomba, DJs also, and creating different projects around that. So, for example, we had this World Kizomba Day flash mob we did last year and this year. Last year we had 104 cities from all over the world.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was very beautiful. We created this choreography, they learned the choreography, they perform. This year we did the same. So now we're creating more events around it. Soon we're going to publish a new one. That's going to be end of this year. So yeah, I feel this also project is very magical because it united thousands and thousands of people from all over the world. And so yeah, worldkizombaproject.com or Facebook, the same. About me, I do all different activities, but these are my main fields of interest, and I have it also my Facebook page, Nemanja Sonero, Instagram the same, Nemanja Sonero.
Yeah, the YouTube channel. That's how I found you. Was your YouTube channel?
Yeah, my YouTube channel. This is how all started, and there's a lot of videos for instruction videos, demos, and a lot of free videos people can access that and learn from. Those videos really opened a lot of doors in my life, and I met amazing people because of these videos and from all over the world, really. So yeah, I'm very thankful for having those also.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I apologize. We didn't get a chance to speak on 8Motion, man. That's my fault. I really apologize about
Oh,
that.
it's fine. It's fine.
Is there is there anything else you want to plug, man? Because this is your time to shine, man.
Well, as for 8Motion, I feel, for example, if it's okay with you, people who watch this show can also contact me, and I feel open to give, for example, a discount for people who are interested, who are watching the show. They can get 25% discount. So that's an option.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. That's awesome.
For all the courses, yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's a beautiful way. I want to really create a beautiful community online because we have this internet, nowadays. It's such an amazing space to connect from all over the world. So this is a platform I want to do that from.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I appreciate you doing that.
Yeah, pleasure.
Yeah. So I think you kind of already spoke on it, man. But real quick, man, tell me, how can people reach out to you, man? How can they get into contact with you?
So my name, Nemanja Sonero, it's everywhere the same. Instagram, the same. Nemanja Sonero, Facebook page, private page, YouTube also. So yeah, you can always write me, contact me if you need anything, if you want to ask something, get in touch. I'm always open for really beautiful conversations and I just love to connect with people from everywhere. Yeah, so yeah.
That's awesome, man. When I post this, I'll make sure I put all your contact information in the details.
Perfect, thank you.
Yeah, no doubt, man. So yeah, like I said, no, my name, man. I really appreciate you taking time out here to talk to me. I thoroughly enjoyed this conversation, man.
Yeah, man. Same here. Pleasure.
Hey, no doubt, man. So yeah, at this point, man, I say thank you, Nemanja. Please enjoy the rest of your day. All right, man.
Yeah, wish you all a beautiful day.
Hey, that'll do it for this episode of 2 Feet Podcast. Take it easy.
Bye.
Hey.
All right, so hey everyone. If you made it this far to the end of the video, I want to thank you so much for just, watching this. I really hope that you found value in this. My whole goal in this endeavor is, to give a voice to people, to dancers, and to give value to the dance community. So if I'm not giving value, it's kind of pointless. So I strongly urge you to please comment and let me know where I can improve, what I need to do better, what I'm doing wrong, and hopefully what I'm doing right, but my overall goal is I want to give content. I want to be helpful. So please let me know where I can improve upon. I'm new to all this, so I'm learning as I go. So I need feedback. Please comment and just let me know how I can improve. I would greatly appreciate that. That means the world to me, just to be able to interact with you all, have a conversation with you and just, see what you like and what you don't like. That means the world to me. I love interacting with you all. It means so much to me. But yeah, thank you so much for making it this far into the video. I gotta say, please leave a like, subscribe. If you don't like it, then let me know why not. Hit the down like button, hit the unlike button. But thank you so much. I really do appreciate it.